This is the morning of the Rhode Island State Chess Championship, December 13th. We are at the Best Western Hotel. I say we because I came in with 3 other people from Pennsylvania. We drove 7 hours to get here, and it's about 8 a.m. The first round starts at 9:30 a.m. So it's really soon from now. It's really soon. We just had breakfast, and this Best Western is actually like really good. They had Cocoa Puffs, they had a pancake machine, and they had, sausages, eggs, the normal thing, and it actually tasted quite okay. So, decent breakfast. Bad sleep. There's 4 of us, but we only got 1 hotel room to save costs. So, me and my roommate, we slept on the floor on opposite sides. We got a spare blanket for him, and I used my jacket. And my fatal flaw with using my jacket was that my toes were uncovered and really cold, so that was kind of uncomfortable. And then for him, he was near the window, and he was actually really cold, and we did not turn on the heat because we're dumb. So it was really cold, and we both struggled with sleep. So I definitely don't feel like I'm in great shape, but it is what it is. It is what it is. We got a long day ahead of us. It's game in 45 plus 10 seconds per move. So it's 4 rounds of game in 45 plus 10 seconds bonus per move. So first round's gonna start at 9:30, and the last round's gonna end at 7 p.m. So it's gonna be a really, really, really long day. Really long day. So it's gonna be a lot about conserving energy when we can, and just doing our best. So we'll see how it goes. I am currently, my current rating is 1865. That puts me as the 20th seed for the tournament. So I'm about at the bottom of the top half. So I think on paper I'm supposed to finish at around 2 out of 4. So if I can finish around there or a bit higher, I'm kind of happy. Rhode Island is state number 9 on my list to play in all 50 states. So I played in 8 states before this, and Rhode Island is number 9. So and I'm trying to play in all 50 states. So we'll see how that goes. I am excited to play against some of the locals, and we'll see how that goes.
Lunchtime will be after the first round. We have to because the kitchen closed early. Today's the last day of class. Yesterday was the last day of classes. So after 1 o'clock, it'll be open just for like snacks and so forth. So get down there after 1. It'll be open from 11 to 1 for lunch. So after you finish round 1, you want to go to lunch. It's just take the elevator down to the first floor.
It is 11:45-ish. I just finished the first round after a bit less than 2 hours. I lost to this young Asian kid who's rated 1999. I'm sure he's been over expert by now, most likely. And this is probably the first time I've lost in months where I'm not upset at myself. He just played better moves than me. He played the French defense, and I did my gambit line, where I give up the d-pawn for activity and time. And he just played good moves, and eventually he got more activity and forced more trades, won a second pawn. He didn't sneeze though. And then that was it. Like, he forced more trades and eventually won the game. So it's one of those things where like what should I have done differently? Because I know the Milner Berry gambit is a sound opening. I'm just not sure. I play this one move, bishop b1, to go queen d3, and it's really hard for him to defend on that diagonal. But that diagonal going towards his king. But I wasn't really sure. Like, that probably was the mistake. Like, but I'm not sure. But now it's we have the next round's at 12:20, so there's only another like 40 minutes ish, 30 minutes 30 minutes before the next round. So not too bad. Could be worse. But I'm looking forward to the next round. I'm probably gonna play down for the next round. Most likely, they did accelerated pairings actually. But so far, I really like the tournament. They did a lot of stuff where I'm going to start doing in my tournaments. Like for example, they have the pairings sheet in a different color, like an orange color, so it stands out. They have earplugs that anyone can take. Yeah, did you see them by the front? Yeah. So there's earplugs that people can use. They have water provided, coffee provided. Water's normal, but coffee as well. That's cool. Although it's gone now, so I guess they ran out, or maybe it was only for certain people. So maybe I didn't get any anyway, so maybe it didn't matter. But also they have rooms for parents called parents rooms. Pretty intuitive, I must say. And then they have Skittles room. They have a Skittles room outside of that. So that's actually really innovative. It's going to be hard for most tournaments to have that, but I think it's really great because a lot of times parents just camp out in the Skittles room, not leaving enough space for the players in the Skittles room. So now the fact that they have separate parents rooms are pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But yeah, that loss was sad because I always feel very happy to see the French. I have a very good record against it, but not today. Not today. So hopefully the Pennsylvanians do better next round. I just finished round 2. That was probably the dumbest game in a while. I feel like I say that about a lot of games. But my opponent played the fantasy variation because I played the Caracan. So he played F3 on move 3. And it was going okay until move 7 or 8 or whatever. And I messed up the move order. It's probably still fine what I did, but I think the way I approached it was completely wrong, and I got a dead loss position. I was playing a 1400, so someone over 400 points lower rated than me. And it was an awful position, and he missed a moment where I played b5 attacking his bishop, and he could have played bishop b4 check. And if I played c5, then he can take the pawn on b5. So with his other bishop, so he could have he had basically a knockout. I feel like, unless I got it wrong, unless I'm evaluating that wrong. So he might have been just straight up winning there. I would have to double check. But after that point, I was able to claw my way out of it. He had the 2 bishops and 2 rooks. I had 2 knights and 2 rooks, and he had more space, but it was a close position. And I was able to maneuver my knights into really great squares, and I was outplaying him. That's genuinely how it felt. It felt like, okay, I'm outplaying this guy, and I'm actually going to go on to win this game. And it was really close. I broke through on the queen side. I was up a pawn, a passed pawn, and I really made the most out of my position. And then I traded into the 2 rooks endgame, and then in low time I screwed everything up. I turn it into a draw. It's like a dead draw. Well, not dead draw, but very definitely a draw, with 2 pawns each and one rook each, and my pawn's 1 square away from promotion. I screw that up. I don't even know. I don't even know where exactly I went wrong. Maybe I should have. I don't know. The position must have been winning, but I didn't have enough time to figure it out, and I'm just bad at chess. I'm just bad at chess. So I didn't have enough time to figure it out, and ended up going to a pawn down rook endgame. So I'm just down a pawn, and we reached a theoretical draw. I'm pretty sure, I guess at a couple moments it should be a theoretical draw, but I don't know. I think I couldn't defend that. That's why I made multiple mistakes. I'm making the last mistake. It should have been a draw for a while. Before that, it should have been a win. But he, to his credit, he managed his time better than me. He had 11 minutes when I had 1 minute, so he had a lot more time than me. And I guess he deserves the win. If I can't defend the Philidor, if I can't defend a pawn down rook endgame, that should be a draw. That's on me. If I can't hold the position where it's 2 pawns each in a rook endgame, I don't deserve it. So it's pretty demoralizing. Second loss in a row. That first loss, I definitely, first time I haven't been upset about a loss in a long time. The second loss, I'm just like, man, I'm so freaking stupid. Like, I played horribly in both. Well, there's controversy. Anyways, so yeah, I should play better. But so it's pretty disappointing. I feel really dumb. So I think I just have to realize that I'm just not there competitively. Like, my act isn't together. So that's kind of how it feels like. But I mean, I was playing really well in that middle game, I feel like. But both the ends, the opening and the end game, I just really screwed up, and that was really sad. So I don't think I've screwed up an opening and an end game that badly in the same game. Because usually when I screw up an opening, the game's over. But this time I was able to pull through and hold on and claw my way back. So I felt really tenacious. So there's a plus. I appreciate the way I fought back. And the way I didn't give up. I really appreciate that about my game, but man, that end game was bad. So I'm gonna play round 3 shortly and get this tournament going. So thanks. All right, I just finished round 3. It was definitely my quickest round so far. I was playing white against a 1600. I sacrificed a pawn in the opening, just like in my last game as white in round 1. And I had one little trap in the position where I traded rooks and played bishop d2. And if he tries to trade queens with queen e5, then I can play rook e1, threaten back ring, checkmate, so he can't take my queen. So if he takes my queen, just mate. And he fell for it. So it was a nice little trick. The game went on for a while longer. He didn't resign because he had the rook. He had a rook for a queen. And so eventually I was studying mate, and he had to sacrifice his rook for the bishop, and then it was bishop versus queen, and eventually, after I won a couple pawns, he resigned. So it was a pretty smooth win, and it's always good to have a smooth win in the tournament, especially in the middle of the tournaments, so I can conserve energy for future rounds. So it's always good to win fast or lose fast at one of the rounds, so you have enough energy for the last round. So I will say that the only one thing that is not good about this venue is that their tables that they have in the room are like kind of small, and like it's hard to have enough space for my notation book. I just don't have enough space for my notation book, and it's kind of cramped. So that's the only downside, but overall it's still a great venue, and I can't complain. So much extra space, and no one's in the way. I think they probably intentionally have the tournament after finals week. So there's no goofy students in the way. That's my guess. I assume this weekend is after finals week for New England Institute of Technology. Anyways, on to round 4. So pretty smooth. I just got back to my apartment from Rhode Island. It was a lot of driving. It was actually snowing when we were coming back, so I actually got into a minor accident, actually, but everything is okay. Everyone's back home, but I had the car needs to be. And there's also a mass shooting as well that happened right before the 4th round. Crazy stuff. Anyways, I'm back in Pennsylvania, and the last round was good. He played a Collie system with b3, being cutting the bishop, and I decided to clarify the pawn tension pretty early on by taking on 4. And I didn't have to do that, but I thought I'm just going to clarify the tension, play bishop f5, and continue developing. And I've had decent success with this in the past. It's actually hard for me to remember which games I've played against the Collie system, with the b3 Collie system, I call it. I don't know if it has that. Some people just call it d4 sideline, but I always forget. If I'm if it's better to leave the tension on c5 and d4, or if I should clarify the pawn structure by taking on d4. One thing I do like about clarifying the pawn structure is that like now it's very clear that I have the minority pawns on the queen side, and his bishop is stuck behind his own pawn. I clarify that pretty early on. I think both are fine, not taking both fine, but yeah, I think if I'm going to bring my bishop out to f5, I think it's probably best for me to. But yeah, I take on d4. We both continue developing. There was one interesting moment where I was where he played bishop e5 early on, which definitely doesn't seem like the normal move. Like usually people play the system, they play either bishop d3 or they play bishop e2, but he played bishop e5, pinning my knight to my king, and I had an interesting moment where I could go queen a5 check. He has to block with the knight, defend his bishop on b5, but then I have this interesting knight e4, and the idea is if he takes on b5 with check, I take back. Now it's really hard to defend his knight on c3. His knight on c3 is on pre, it's hanging, and there's not a great way to defend it because the knight's pinned. But the thing is, he can castle. Because after he castles, if I play knight takes c3, he can play queen d2, pinning my knight to my queen and win back the piece. I actually spent like 8-9 minutes calculating if I should play queen a5 check, and if I do play queen a5 check, should I follow it up with knight e4? And I concluded that it was nothing special. Like, it's just a position, and I may be helping him potentially. And there were some thoughts I had, like, okay, if I do play queen a5, knight, and then knight e4, and then, if I do take a knight on c3 and he plays queen d2, then if I play e6 at that point and he takes, wow, now his bishop's on c3 and now he can't play c4. But then I was like, I wasted so much time to get this position and traded my active pieces for this. I don't think it's good. So that's why I decided to just play e6, bishop e7, and castles, and just move on with the game and not do anything too forcing, not do anything rash. So I think that was a mature decision to think 9 minutes on a move and not play it. And as the game progressed, we're both developing. Eventually, there comes a moment where he actually like the main idea. One of the main ideas in the college system, like this pawn break on c4 is very thematic. That's the way people say. Very thematic pawn break. You're controlling the center, and a lot of times black can take on c4, and after white takes back, white has these hanging pawns, with his d and c pawns, and then black has the pawns on like 6 and sometimes b6, restricting those pawns. But so he has to be comfortable with that exchange if that happens. But if you don't play c4, where is your play? That's the thing. And so he doesn't take advantage of, he doesn't play for c4. And I play to restrict the pawn move to c4. And like, what pawn breaks does he have? He can maybe try to go for f5, or f4, to then go f5, do something like that, and play on the king side. But it definitely feels a bit less powerful with the bishop on b2, stuck behind its own pawn. Might still be fine, but it definitely seems like he didn't have an active plan. Meanwhile, I put 2-3 rooks on the open c file. I'm just controlling the c4 square, and eventually I'm going to my knights. I might go knight e6. I might maneuver my other knight around to d6. I might eventually play for a4, a5 and a4, or a5 and b4 at any moment. So I definitely feel like I have more opportunities position, even though it's probably just around equal. It definitely felt like I had control of the game, especially after I doubled up my rooks on the file. And then he went a bit crazy in the fact that he just sacrificed a piece. It's really hard for him to come up with a plan. That's my opinion. But yeah. He's 1600. My opponent was 1600. I did forget to mention that part. And it's definitely a way I might usually win against that. I'm just playing better moves in the middle game. In a position that could be dry. But luckily for me, it wasn't dry. There was one moment early in the game where he played knight h4 and then knight back to f3. Like, it felt like he was just playing okay moves fast. And he was playing solid. That doesn't amount to much. That's not a way to win a chess game. But maybe about winning, maybe about solid. But yeah. So I ended up he ended up sacrificing a piece, and I just made some backward knight moves. Oh, Grogu. I ended up making some backwards moves, and eventually I consolidated, got my rook to the second rank, and then threatened checkmate. So there's a really cool moment actually where he played rook h3, and I played queen f6, I believe, and he could sacrifice his rook with check, and after I take back, I had to take back with the pawn, and then he could play bishop e5, pinning my queen to my king. However, in that scenario, I have rook c1 checkmate. Well, it's rook c1 check, and after queen d1, rook takes d1 checkmate. So it was actually a really cool scenario where he has all these pieces towards my king, looking dangerous, but there's actually nothing. At least I think. I haven't looked at it with an engine yet. But yeah, but overall, so I finished the tournament with 2 out of 4. And, I think I'm really disappointed with myself for my round 2 game. But outside of that, I think I played. Could be better. Alright, I centralized my camera here. I'm actually just centralized my camera here just to give my, post-event thoughts. And, I think overall, I am more okay with this tournament than I was the last one. The last one was a month ago on November 15th, and I played the worst chess ever. I flagged. I had so many blunders. This game, my second round, made me really upset. Definitely. But at least I didn't flag. At least I didn't flag, I guess. But I think I did play well. In my first game, I just didn't find the right idea. My opponent just played way better than me. Then in rounds 3 and 4, I had pretty smooth wins. My opponent didn't cause me any trouble. I just played good moves. It was pretty smooth my last 2 games. But I'm still down like 22 points or something. I don't think the ratings are out yet. Yeah, the ratings aren't out yet. So I don't know exactly how much I lost, but I probably lost between 15 to like 25 points, which is fine. I don't need to gain elo. I just don't want to be disappointed in myself. But I did disappoint myself in that round 2 game. I'm just tired of throwing games and dumb. Like it's just for me. It's like I don't usually do that. Usually, being like 6 months, but the new me does do that. I just kind of have to accept that I have to play better. That's not. That's how I feel. So overall, Rhode Island State Championship, a really really cool tournament. I really loved the venue. Venue was very good. I think the tables were a bit small because they had to fit 2 tables or 2 boards on 1 table. That's because they had higher attendance than last time. I think last time they had it, there was like 90 some people, but this time it was 137. So or something like that. So they had a lot more people, and they had to squeeze more boards in, and so it was a bit uncomfy, a bit squished, but it is what it is. But happy to play in Rhode Island for the first and maybe last time. And it's a 9th state knocked off my list. So the next one I have on my list is California. I'm going to be playing Diego weekly tournament, Gambito. The Gambito, I don't know what you call it, but it's just a weekly tournament out in Balboa Park, game in 45, delay 5, I think. And so I'm excited to play in California. And after that, I'm going to be playing in Delaware and then West Virginia. So I'm playing all over the place. It's really exciting. But I think I'll end it here.